Alright, in today's lesson we are going to learn how to divide monomials. So we're in section 9.3 on page 386. If you could go ahead and turn there in your books. Alright, in example 1, it asks us to simplify 12mn divided by 9m. Alright, now with division, it's opposite multiplication in that you are reducing the numerical part of the fraction, and you're essentially subtracting the exponents of the variables. Okay, so for 12mn divided by 9m, you would reduce 12 over 9 to by 3. So this becomes a 3, this becomes a 4. Alright, to 4/3. And then remember, whenever you don't have an exponent, it's like there's an imaginary 1 there. Well, 1 minus 1 is 0, so your m's would cancel out, and you would just be left with n on top. And that would be your simplified answer. On example B, you have negative 14 h to the 7th k to the 5th divided by 18 h k to the 3rd. Alright, so you again reduce the fraction part. Alright, now we have negative 14 over 18. The only number that goes into both of them evenly is 2. So this becomes negative 7. Remember to keep that negative when you reduce. Don't forget that. Over 9. Alright, now remember, h with no exponent is an imaginary 1. So 7 minus 1 is 6. So you're left with h to the 6th up top. And k, 5 minus 3, again you're subtracting them, would leave you with k to the 2nd power. But what if you had one like this? What if you had, let's say, 9x squared y to the 4th power divided by 12x to the 3rd power y squared. Okay? Now, again, you're still reducing the numerical portion. 9 over 12 reduces to 3/4. Okay, so you have 3/4. But now you're still subtracting your exponents here. Alright, imagine it, x squared is the same thing as x times x, and x cubed is the same thing as x times x times x. Well, if two of your x's cancel, it's left on the bottom. So you're still doing 3 minus 2. Essentially, you're still subtracting your exponents here. You're still subtracting 3 minus 2, but where it's left is in the denominator, because that's where your greater exponent is. Alright? And then, same thing here, y 4 minus 2 is 2, so you're left with y squared up top. Okay? Basically, where your greater exponent is where it will be in your answer, numerator or denominator. Alright, so this would be your answer, 3y squared divided by 4x. Now, in example 2, we're simplifying a few of these. We have 8n plus 12 divided by 4. Now, the first step that I want to see on your homework is that you break up this fraction into two separate fractions. Alright, so you take this same denominator, but now you're going to break it up into each part of this fraction. So you have 8 over 4 plus 12 over 4. Okay, well 8 divided by 4 is 2, and 12 divided by 4 is 3, so 2 plus 3 is 5, and that would be your answer. All right, now let's apply this with variables. Okay, we're just going to add in a variable here. What if you had 8n plus 12 divided by 4? This will be more of what you see on your homework. Again, you're going to break it up, 8n divided by 4 plus 12 plus 4. Okay, and you end up with 2n plus 3, and that would be your final answer. Because again, 8 divided by 4 is just going to be 2, and 12 divided by 4 is 3, and you cannot combine unlike terms when you're adding and subtracting. All right, now let's look at B. On B, we have 9x to the 4th minus 12x cubed plus 15x squared, all divided by 3x squared. Again, the first thing I want you to do is rewrite this expression as 3 separate fractions. So you would have 9x to the 4th divided by 3x squared minus, because you're going to take the sign of whatever's in that numerator, minus 12x cubed divided by 3x squared plus 15x squared divided by 3x squared. Okay, so now you're going to go through and reduce. You can reduce these by 3 and you're just left with 3 over 1. And x squared and x to the 4th, well, 2 of your x's can cancel and you're left with 3x squared. Okay, this cancels to 4 over 1. And you're just left with, because 3 minus 2 is 1, you're just left with an x. 3 and the 15 cancel to 5 over 1, and x squared completely cancel out. So now, this is the part that you're left with up here, and now you're going to rewrite it. 3x squared, you have nothing left in your denominator, minus 4x plus 5, and it is already written in standard form. All right, now on C, you have 3a squared b plus 9ab squared divided by 3ab. All right, let's go ahead and pause the recording so that you can work this one on your own and see if you can come up with the answer. All right, so you would first separate the fractions. You would have 3a squared b divided by 3ab plus 9ab squared divided by 3ab. All right, so now you go through and you reduce. 3's cancel down to 1's. Your a squared over a to the 1st, that's like 2 minus 1, which is just a. And your b's cancel. So all you're left with in the first fraction is just a. Plus, this cancels down to 3 over 1. Your a's cancel out, and 2 minus 1 is just b. So all you're left with is 3b in the second term. So a plus 3b would be your answer. All right, now in example 3. Last example. We're doing a word problem. It says the area of a rectangle is 6x cubed plus 2x squared plus x. The width of the rectangle is 2x squared centimeters. Find the length. Okay, well, the area of a rectangle, and here's where you have to know, area is length times width. So if you're solving for the length, you have to divide both sides by w. So length equals total area divided by the width. Well, we know that the total area is what we just listed, and we know that the width is 2x squared. So we have length equals 6x cubed plus 2x squared plus x divided by my width of 2x squared. All right, and for space reasons, I'm going to go ahead and just rewrite this as 3 separate fractions. Divided by 2x squared, divided by 2x squared, and divided by 2x squared. All right, so now I'm going to reduce what I can. The length equals, this is 3. My x's cancel. 3 minus 2 is going to be 1, so I'm just left with 3x. My 2's cancel. X squareds cancel, so that completely cancels out to just 1. Because remember, 2 over 2 is still 1. 2 divided by 2 is still 1, so I still have a 1 there. Now the x squareds completely cancel out. Plus, now I have x over 2x squared. So remember, there's an invisible 1 out front here, so this is going to be 1/2. And the x cancels. Remember, you still do 2 minus 1 because there's an invisible 1 here. But where the leftover variable is in your denominator. So it'll be 1 over 2x. And that would be what you would consider to be your length. Alright, so remember, wherever the greater exponent is, that's where you're going to write your variable in your answer. You still subtract your exponents, but your variable belongs where the greater exponent is, numerator or denominator. If you understand that, that's everything you need to know for 9.3.